Got some exciting updates, a lot of updates. Everything which is coming out of Google right now is heavily influenced by AI and by Gemini. So a lot of updates here. And the very first one, this was just announced last night. It's not even on the updates blog yet. It's been sent out by email to Google partners just to be aware of it. The Gemini app is, as we're already aware, is going to be available to all age groups. So previously it was available to 13 to 18. Now you'll be able to enable Gemini for under 13s, all age groups as well. Something to mention with that, because people always ask, well, the Gemini app for students, how is it different? There are much stronger controls in place. And basically these are implemented by using LearnLM. So LearnLM is Google's learning model, as it were. So it's kind of like a submodel of Gemini, and by using that learning model, that's the one that they release through Gemini for students, and so it's a much more protected environment. I mean, of course, a number of things schools would probably still want to go through training with students and so on, but you can be much more assured that the responses are going to be protected. And so, yeah, that's very exciting. So all age groups. Probably even more exciting is, because schools have been asking about this even more, Notebook LM will be available for all ages from August. Says August, it may be August the 1st, it could be August the 31st, don't really know, but certainly for most schools at the start of next year, you will be able to enable Notebook LM will be enabled for students as well. You can opt out, so you can turn that off. So it's going to be enabled by default, but you can opt out, you can turn it off. But Notebook LM will be available. And of course, it is a completely safe environment in Notebook LM because everything is grounded in the information that you provide Notebook LM. So really, every school has been asking about Notebook LM for students. This is huge. There's going to be the capability to launch Notebook LM through Google Classroom. There's going to be different ways in which you can share these out as well. But really, really exciting. Sean, I saw you're in the call, and I knew somebody from Hong Kong was going to briefly celebrate this. Notebook LM, unfortunately, is not yet available in Hong Kong. We've been advocating for on behalf of schools to get Google to enable this in Hong Kong. They're continuing to talk about it and look at it. I have no updates to share yet, but it's every time I speak to somebody from Google, we keep pushing them to do this. It's definitely on there. It's definitely on their radar. So hopefully we'll see some changes in that. Okay, quick, you may have seen this already. I think we mentioned this a few weeks ago. It got launched last month. The Notebook LM app is now available. So for iOS and Android to get the Notebook LM app, this is great, especially coming to the holidays. If you're traveling, if you're jumping on the plane, you can now create your audio overviews. They're saved on device. So you don't need to download them from the web, put them onto your phone or anywhere else. You can now do this on device. You can obviously have all your notebooks in there, but you can have your audio overviews saved on device. And that is absolutely brilliant. I've done this already when I'm flying, and it works really, really well. In addition, the Notebook LM mobile interface is really nice. It works really well. It's very responsive, and it's great just to have access to all of that on your device. Brilliant app. Glad to see they've done this. Okay, what we've done in this call, the first few minutes of updates are all going to be about Gemini, and then we've broken up the Google Workspace updates as well. There's a lot of Gemini updates we've noticed every month. So we're going to break this down into Gemini updates and then to Google Workspace updates. So first off, with the Gemini updates, there's a couple of updates to generating charts using Gemini. So if you have a Gemini add-on, whether it's Gemini Education or Gemini Premium, you can generate charts. There's an update to the languages there. And actually, we'll see in a moment, the other big update is those charts are now going to be live and editable. So previously, when it generated a chart, it was not editable. It was a static image of a chart. Now, when you generate a chart, it will be live. So in addition to the extra languages we have here, the chart will be editable and live as well. And I think we'll see that slide in a minute, but I wanted to put those together. Another update for Google Vids is with Gemini again here, is now you can, so previously we could do this already in a sense. So now we can take a Google slide deck and generate a Google Vid based upon that slide deck. Now you can configure that differently. You can select specific slides within the slide deck to build your Google vid. So for example, it could be a parent update where maybe you have 40 slides from a meeting, but you just want to generate a video overview with 10 slides. You can do that. So you can pre-configure it, you can pre-select the slides you want to use when you're building a Google vid. And again, for that, you would need a Gemini license to be able to do that video generation. This is less an update and really just more calling this out. We've talked a lot about privacy and security inside of Gemini. So whether you're on the paid version of Gemini or using the free Gemini app, they're both private and secure. No data is used for training. The other thing that's coming in, there's obviously been a lot of media around different cyber attacks using AI. And one specific one is using prompt injection. So essentially injecting a prompt into your document, into Gemini. This is just a quick call out. I won't go into this too much depth, but Google's spending a lot of time to protect against those attacks as well. So just really calling this out. It's not just about the privacy and security side, but it's also protecting your data from prompt injection. That's essentially where somebody's customizing your prompt before you get to it. They're kind of putting it into the document. So for example, if you have a shared document, maybe they inject some text into that document, and when you use Gemini, it's using that text to do something which you were not expecting. Gemini in Drive, so using Gemini inside of Google Drive with PDFs. A quick update here. If you open up a PDF, this is really good if you've got a very lengthy agreement or a proposal or something to check through. You'll get a summary card on the right-hand side. So if you're using Gemini, the side panel will open up and you'll see a summary of the PDF in line with the PDF. So that's great. Obviously, if you've got long PDFs, you want a quick overview, or maybe you're checking the version or something like that, you'll see a quick overview of that. Gemini in Forms has had an update, and this is really this is just iterating on previous updates. So you could do part of this before, but now you're able to, so previously you could create Google Forms based upon a prompt. Now you can do this based upon your files as well. So you could take a Google document or even a slide deck and build a form based upon those. So we'll draft it, and then you can go through and customize it. Additionally, you can now use Gemini to summarize the responses. You've probably seen before, like a short summary on some, like the summary stats, but now you can do this for all of the questions within the form. You can use AI basically to summarize those responses. So if you're getting feedback, for example, in a Google form, you can now use Gemini to summarize that feedback directly within the form. So you don't need to go out to Sheets, take all of the data and do it that way. You can do it directly within responses in Google Forms. Yeah, I'm sure everybody has probably seen this. The internet went wild for a couple of days when we could create audio and video with Veo 3. There was a really good, I think it was at the, I'm not up on my US sports, the Super Bowl. There was an advert, anyway, generated completely by Veo 3. It's absolutely incredible. I don't have a link for it. I wish I had the link for it, but it was this media company, and they said they saved 95% of their budget by using Veo 3 to generate a series of clips to build into this full advert commercial. It was quite incredible. So what you can do now within Google Vids, you have access, or will have access if you don't have it yet, you will have access to Veo 3. That is video generation with audio as well. So if you're creating a Google Vid, you could just create Veo 3 within it, or you could embed it as part of a longer video that you're working on. It really is incredible, Veo 3.
Now, your ideas speak for themselves with Veo 3 and Google Vids.
I won't play that, but you could, I believe for a time, Google was offering free Veo 3 generations within Gemini. It's a very hard thing to say. I believe for a time, I certainly had access to that. But anyway, it is quite incredible. Take a look at Google Vids. Mentioned this just a moment ago, charts are now editable with using Gemini. So when you use Gemini to build a chart, now they're editable. Did mention this just a few seconds ago, so I'll move on. Just a quick call out in case anybody is hosting code within GitHub. Now you can upload a folder of code from GitHub directly into Gemini. So if you're doing a lot of code repositories in GitHub. Now you can use Gemini to analyze it, generate, and so on. We've seen this is another one with Google Drive. Again, sort of the Gemini integration, giving you overview of your files. Now you can use Catch Me Up, and it will highlight changes since you last viewed those files. So generally, sort of the history of this is sort of 7 to 14 days. It's not going to go through every file in Drive to look at that, but it's going to give you a quick overview of recent changes made to files. You know, if you click on a file, it will show you the recent updates, but this will do it across Google Drive. So it'll keep you updated with what's happening in Google Drive. Another thing that's changing, or another feature that's coming to manage Gemini, to manage the Gemini conversations, is the ability to set your history settings as well. So now you'll be able to set history settings, conversation history settings. This only applies to the Gemini app for now. It doesn't apply to the side panel in Docs, Sheets, or Slides. But you'll be able to configure history settings, so that's either save history or don't save history. That's available in the admin console. In addition to be able to analyze PDFs and other files, Gemini now allows you to analyze videos inside of Google Drive as well. There's actually a couple of updates. I'll talk about the second one as well. So the first one is using Gemini. You can analyze a video using Gemini. So for example, summarize or provide bullet points from a meeting and so on and so on. The second update, which is not Gemini, but I'll mention it now because we're talking about video files, there are better analytics, engagement metrics, which are coming to videos hosted in Google Drive. Now, this is really good because schools have always got the question, where do we host video? Do we put it onto YouTube? How do we play video back? Obviously, people don't want ads playing when they play videos back from YouTube. Within Classroom or embedded in Slides, we remove those ads anyway. But if a school wanted another way to play video back, the Drive video player has improved a lot. So one of the releases is now you can use Gemini to summarize video. And then the second one, we'll see a slide in a minute, but I'll mention it now, is the ability to see engagement metrics. So if you share a video out in Google Drive, you'll be able to see engagement metrics for that. Okay, back to Google Vids has received, if you've used Google Vids recently, you've probably seen a new start page. And basically now there's 5 different things you can do. You can, of course, begin with a blank video. You can begin with a template. You can begin by adding a file, for example, taking a slide deck, we just talked about this, and creating a Google Vid. You can also generate live videos straight away as well. So you can start with a video generation. So it's all built inside of Google Vids. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's definitely worth checking out over the summer. Okay, deep research in Gemini. And this is really more about a model update and some of the extra assets that you can add. So previously, when you used deep research, it was on the 2.0 model. Now it's a 2.5 model. But also, you can add in PDFs or images directly into your deep research. So it can draw upon those. So rather than just giving it a prompt and it searches the web, if you have particular assets or resources that you want it to analyze, you can also do that inside of deep research as well. There's a whole host. Deep Research has received a lot of updates recently. It's well worth checking out. A couple more things I didn't mention just then, but it will suggest interactive charts. But you can also modify the reports within Canvas as well. So after generating your report, you can then modify the text either manually by editing the text or using Gemini to iterate on the text as well. Definitely worth having another look at Deep Research if you haven't used it for a few weeks. Okay, I think we're on to the hopefully we're on to the Workspace updates now. So a small one here, but a useful one. I find myself, when I get a large number of emails or chats, I go through the list and read ones, and often I mark something as unread. When I want to come back to it, it's a task I want to come back to. Well, we can do that now within a thread in a space. So previously you couldn't do this. So you could do this with a chat message, but now you can do this for a thread within a chat thread within a space. So you can mark the whole thread as unread. So it really just ties in with marking emails as unread or marking one-to-one chat messages as well. Okay, there's additional configuration options for Google Forms. So you've probably seen in the last few months, there's a lot of changes to how we can share Google Forms out. Well, now there's additional admin controls. Yeah, so when you create a Google form and you want to share it for somebody to view, you're probably seeing the little pop-up box, the sharing box has changed, and there's additional granular permissions on that. Well, now as an admin, we can configure who in the domain can respond to external forms or not, and also whether we can share externally Google Forms as well. So you could prevent your users from responding to external Google Forms, and similarly, you can prevent external recipients. You can prevent external. Sorry, losing my chain of thought here. You can prevent your domain users from sharing your forms externally as well. So it's a two-way thing: responding to forms externally and sharing out forms externally as well. There we go. We got there. Google Meet captions have had an update. So you see captions appear at the bottom of the screen. And a couple of months ago, Google updated so that you can now scroll through those captions. Well, now you can customize those captions as well. So those captions are customized. We can change the text and the size and so on. Just making it easier to view those if you want to see them a little larger or a different color. Here's an update from Google Meet. So you can now present from a camera in Google Meet. So if you have an external camera, so I think a good example of this could be for an event or for a sports meeting or something like that. You can just plug your camera into your computer and you can add the camera as a source into Google Meet. So if you're streaming anything, you can now use that external camera plugged into your computer and choose that as a source. So a great way if you want to stream that using Google Meet. Very simple solution. Classroom, so back to Google Classroom. Classroom Analytics has had an update. So Classroom Analytics have been around for 2 or 3 years now, I think. Oh yes, it's 2023, so a couple of years. Now they've had an update including adding in details about engagement within Classroom. So actually whether they clicked on the Google Classroom page in the last week. Grade analysis, so whether a student's grade has gone up or down, and whether they've turned in more than 50% of their assignments, for example, and a number of other metrics as well. So you'll see those highlights at the top of the Classroom Analytics page. So again, really just more insights into using Google Classroom. I think it's worth mentioning here, because I was at Google yesterday and we were talking about this. We've seen an uptick in schools moving away from paid LMS and coming to use Google Classroom. And this is across the board from small schools to very large schools. And there's a lot of talk about different LMS. There's a lot of different options out there. But if you haven't visited Google Classroom recently, it's definitely worth revisiting to see what is available, especially with the Gemini and Notebook LM availability to students now as well, because those will be pushed out through Google Classroom. So if you haven't visited Google Classroom recently, it's definitely worth going back to that. We had two very big schools that I know of are moving to Classroom for next year. There was a question yesterday about a school wanting to migrate from Canvas to Classroom as well. So yeah, definitely worth looking at Google Classroom if you're not. Yeah, it's a very easy solution with a lot of new features if you haven't looked at it recently. Okay, read along. I just wanted to mention this. This is really just a small update to language availabilities, but Arabic is now supported, Arabic and Urdu. But I know there's a large number of Middle Eastern schools that join our calls, so I just wanted to call out that Arabic is available now as well. So students can read books in Arabic, and you can actually create books in Arabic as well, so you can generate text in Arabic. So Arabic is now available for read along inside of Google Classroom. And again, read along is Google's sort of reading coaching tool. A student can read along using their microphone to a book, and Classroom or read along will monitor their progress. And it's all built inside of Google Classroom. Okay, I kept this one in here, Jira, just because I was talking about Jira yesterday. There are some updates to the integration with Jira. I'm not sure, just a quick hands up if anybody is using Jira in their schools. I've got no idea. But I was just talking to somebody else yesterday about using Jira, and they use it for a lot of their project management. And just so happens there's an update a couple of weeks ago about incorporating smart chips with Jira. So you can integrate some of your Jira content, so project management content, for example, into Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Gmail as well. So you can sort of inject some of that content that's happening inside of Jira. So if you're using any kind of like advanced project management software, yeah, that was quite an interesting one. Interestingly, Jira has a fairly generous free offering for up to 10 users. So if you did want to use it across your IT team, it would probably support most tech teams at that size. And then you could integrate it across Google as well. This is a quick one. Google Forms, it can be challenging to track down who owns a Google form. So now you can actually, within a Google form, you can contact the owner. So if you see a Google form and you don't know who that form is from, it takes a bit of investigation to do that. It's not the easiest thing to do. But now you can actually contact the owner of the form. So it just help get insights on who owns it, where it's coming from as well. Okay, I mentioned this just a moment ago, video content inside of Google Drive, video engagement insights are launching. Talked about this a moment ago. This is a great thing. So if you're not sharing videos on YouTube, you want to host them on Google Drive, now you can see those engagement statistics.